Big welcome everyone to today's live class. So this is what a hat box looks like when it comes flat packed. So a bit like IKEA, a flat pack hat box. So these are from a company, an Irish company called Floral Box Packaging. They're based in Galway. They really only supply like wholesale, so people that would be buying large quantities. But we get so many florists watch us and tune into us, and this is their way of keeping up to date in what's new, what's happening and what's available. And this is this new range of colours. It's lots more colours, but just this purple shade. And I think between, you know, autumn, Christmas, coming into spring, I just think this is going to be a brilliant colour and a very popular arrangement, like, to be honest, really throughout the whole year. Anyone that's watching there, tuning in tonight, give us a comment underneath, let us know where you're watching in from, let us know your name, and she might as well tell us what's the weather like. It's absolutely freezing here today, that's why I have all the layers on. And by the way, the tool belts are still up on our website, available for sale. I still have a couple of them left, and again, they can be shipped all over the world. So back to the hat box. The hat box, as I said, comes flat packed and you assemble it up. For any ticks that's watching, all these are all numbered, okay? So that one says number 1, this one says number 2, this one says number 3, this one says number 4, number 5. To see how easy it is, typical Galway man, he knows he has a few thick people up in Dublin. And this one is number 6, and again it kind of flaps down into the post box, into the letter box. And you can put your hand on the inside just to flatten it up, just to make sure that you got your shape. And then there's 2 little ribbon handles on either side. Aren't they absolutely beautiful? Now what I love about these hat boxes is, as well as them coming in lots of different shades, and over the next few weeks I'll show you some of the selections of shades that we have, but they don't take up any space. So that is the big thing in flower shops. We never have enough space. It's worse than your house. Where do you store all the stuff? Where, as you can see, they are absolutely brilliant. Now for going down inside the hat box, I normally use one of these bowls. So these are called a bulb bowl, B-U-L-B, bulb bowl, and they just sit down into the centre. Now don't worry that it's a little bit small for the inside. I'll show you how I get around that. And into the bulb bowl, I'm going to use a full block of floral foam. But it'd be like getting the square peg into the round hole. So this is where I use my knife, and I'm going to take off nearly 1/3 of the block of foam. And then I'm going to cut that piece in half. See, like that. These little knives are brilliant, and we have these available for sale on our Floral Sundries page on our website. And then I'm just going to pack these little pieces into the end, kind of cutting them up, just making like a little bit of a jigsaw shape, just to try and fill in, love that sound, fill in the bottom of the container. And because I haven't cut them dead straight, I'm just going to use my hand and flatten them down into it. So that's what that looks like. So this would be what I describe to my students as a wedgie, and a wedgie down into the end of the container, just to give us an extra little bit of height. Now my 2/3 of a block of foam that I have left over, I'm going to cut the 4 corners off. That'll make it easier to get into the roundy shape, okay? And another thing that I do is I slightly round off the top of the floral foam, the corners, just taking them real severe corners off, but I'm not wasting any of it. It's all going to be pressed down into the container. So all them off cuts of floral foam are all pushed down into the container. There's another little bit there, down inside. You can fill that up with water afterwards, and you can see now the way that then sits down into the bulb bowl, nice and snug, so you can see why I cut the corners off, and I'm getting the extra little bit of height. So really it's 1 full block of floral foam that will do the job. I'm just going to dry up my table here. Obviously when you're cutting up the floral foam, everything gets soaked, okay, the water is coming out of it. So now I'm going to use what's called anchor tape. So when you're buying anchor tape, especially in your wholesalers, you will be given the option of pot, P-O-T, pot tape. Don't buy the pot tape. It's not as good, it's not as strong. The anchor tape is the best one. And you can get a wide anchor tape like I'm using here today, or you can get a thinner one. If you have the thinner one, just use 2 strips of it. So I'm just going to use the 1 strip right across the container, stick it in underneath there, and that's our floral foam strapped in. And then just want to make sure that this is nice and dry. These turntables are great because they have a non-slip top on the top of them. They're stainless steel, so they won't go rusty. The bottom, there's like a kind of a rubber pad here, so again, stop it slipping on your counter. It brings it up out of the dirt, out of the rubbish, and sure, it's pink. So what else would you want? What else do you need in the world? Only a pink turntable. So my container now, my bulb bowl, sits down into the centre. Now don't be panicking because obviously there's a little bit of space around the outside. Now newspaper would do the job, but you listen, we're in work. And the last thing we have time to do here in work is to be reading the newspaper. So there's no sign of any newspaper here. I'm just trying to find the beginning of this. We've no newspapers here, right? But we always have cellophane. Sometimes we actually have brown paper. When the flowers come in from the wholesalers, they would be wrapped in brown paper, and we'd recycle and we'd use all that up. But you know what? I'm after being wrapping up bunches here this morning, and I've used up every little bit of brown paper that's lying around the place. So I'm having to use the cellophane. But paper is absolutely fine, and obviously it's better for the environment. So what I'm doing is I'm cutting up 2 or 3 strips of this. There we go. Get the scissors down in a second. And I'm just kind of like rolling it, a bit like a snake. And I'm going to place that around the edge of the bulb bowl in the gap, you know what I mean, between the bulb bowl and our hat box, okay? So there's one piece down there. We got the second piece. You might actually make do with the second one. But seeing I have it cut up, I'm going to use the third piece. So all it's really doing, and I'll hold it up in a second, it's filling in the gap. Do you ever get the train from Sligo to Dublin? Well, that's the only train I've ever been on, is the Sligo to Dublin train. And when you get to Mullingar, your man always says, mind the gap, mind the gap. And that always reminds me, when I'm filling in the gap here between the hat box and the bulb bowl, it reminds me of Mullingar. And maybe he says that at other train stations as well. But I find my niece and my nephew, when they're with me, it's kind of one of the jokes they have, mind the gap when you get to Mullingar. Maybe the gap is bigger in Mullingar than it is in Dublin. Maybe the Mullingar people are a bit more stupid and they fall down the gap when they're all being warned. Now I'll hold this up now just to give you an idea there. You can see the gap is well filled in. Mullingar people, you'll be absolutely fine. No fear of you falling into the gap. Now if you were making these in advance for the likes of, you know, Christmas or Mother's Day or Valentine's Day or special occasions, etc., you could have this part all prepared in advance and it would save you a little bit of time. And then the bowl itself could be topped up with water right up to the top. That'll keep the floral foam really well hydrated until you're ready to stick in the flowers. Now, foliage wise, a few of the items cut today to save a little bit of time. So this is just Pittosporum. Pittosporum from, it's actually from Deirdre's garden. I keep going to say my own garden, but sure, I haven't got this grown in my own garden, though I used to have it grown. So this is the black Pittosporum, or the Tom Thumb Pittosporum. And what I'm doing is I'm working around the edge of the hat box, sticking the pieces of foliage into the edge of the floral foam. Now you can see the pieces of greenery as I take them up. Some of them are a little bit larger, a little bit longer, a little bit shorter than each other. But also the hat box itself is kind of more of a hexagon shape rather than a roundy shape. So even if the pieces were cut the same length, it wouldn't have made any odds. So what I'm just doing is going around the edge, placing these in on a slant, okay, and they're helping to camouflage the gap. We're mad about the gap today. It's really just kind of like hiding that little gap between the edge of the bulb bowl and the edge of the hat box. Do you see like what I've done there? And then what I'm going to do, I'm not finished obviously, is I'm now going to stand a few little pieces kind of in the centre, and some of them are slanted and some are going in and straight, and it's really just about getting a little bit of coverage and what I describe as camouflaging. So I'm camouflaging in the floral foam, but I'm not covering it in completely. So just to show you there, them couple of pieces there, it's just like hiding some of the floral foam. Now flower wise, again we're going for clashy colours. People think I only use pink, but today we're going to use orange, okay? Orange and purple, because the purple clematis will pick up the colour of our hat box. So these are spray roses, or baby roses, and they're available in lots of colours, and thank God they do have them in pink as well. and I just thought the orange and the purple would look really well. And I have some artificial berries, so I'm going to bring in the artificial berries just if you wanted to give it a kind of an autumnal, Christmas, winter sort of theme. But remember, if you're doing this in the springtime or summer, you could leave out the berries and you could use wax flower or jip or whichever you choose. So what I'm going to do is cut up a couple of stems of the spray roses, and you can see there, like out of that one stem I can make maybe 4 or 5 individual heads. And what I'm now going to do is go around the outside, leave little spaces here and there, okay, and just kind of divide them up. And the same idea, the roses are kind of like being inserted in on a slant, that they're resting out over the edge of the hat box just slightly, okay. Just going to put a slightly longer one in there, just that one was a little bit short. But like again, nothing will go to waste. That one is up a little bit high, so I'm just going to take it back out again. You shouldn't take stuff back out again. And just lie it down a little bit lower, do you know, that way, which I feel will be nicer for the arrangement. So you can see there, there's just a couple of roses around the outside. Again, they're not all exactly the same length, because the box itself is hexagon, do you know, that way. And again, when you're cutting up the roses, you're trying to get as good a value out of them as you possibly can. In total, I'm using 5 stems of spray roses. But each of the stems, I was able to cut them up and get, like, you know, I mean, 4 to 5 like little sprigs. Some of the sprigs only had 1 head on them, and some of them had 2 or 3. So what I've just done there was stand the flower near the centre, and then after that then I'm just randomly adding the roses here and there throughout the arrangement. So my plan would be that none of the little roses at the moment are tipping off each other. So anywhere that I kind of feel, oh God, a little bit of space there, could do it in orange rose, little bit of space there, could do it in orange rose, that's really all I'm doing. I'm just trying to divide them up, and you know what, I think I'll take that one out, put that one in there instead, I think it looks nicer, and I'll put that one down there. And it's just trying to divide up the 5 stems of spray roses as best I can. Now remember, if you can't get spray roses, you could use standard roses. But remember, like, you're not going to get the same mileage out of standard roses as you would with, obviously, with the spray roses. And also these are a great lasting flower. The next thing I'm going to do is go on to the clematis. So I'm just going to cut the clematis up into little sprigs. So again, you can see out of that one stem, I was able to get 4 little flowers, individual flowers out of it. Again, different lengths. But when I add in the clematis, I'm going to allow them to bounce slightly, you see, over the tops of the flowers. And again, no particular pattern, just adding them in, just trying to divide up the purple in among the orange flowers as best I can. So in total, I'm using 3 stems of the clematis. Just, it's worth writing down like a list of the stem count, what I'm using. This is something that we try and do, not try and do, we emphasise with our students on all our professional classes. We teach our students how many flowers to use, where to source the materials wholesale, obviously because it's going to be cheaper, what it's costing to make the arrangement, and obviously what the selling price is going to be. Now, if anybody is watching there and you're thinking of maybe doing a flower arranging course with us, but you're just wondering what would it be like to do an online training floristry course from the comfort of your own home. Remember, for the real course we'll send you out the flowers and the materials, etc. But you know, if you just would like to try it out and see what would it be like, what we have here at the school is a sample trial course. And I think there's about 3 or 4 separate classes on it. So if you just drop me an email, there's no obligation to buy, it's completely free. Drop me an email, info@caseflowerschool.com. I will send you out that free link. You will be able to log into this free flower arranging course and basically just try it out and see what it's like. See, do you like it? It's different watching a demonstration, you know, that way. But when you're actually being taught something, where this is more kind of like as a fun class, but when you're actually being taught something, it can be, you know, slightly different. So what I'm doing now is adding some of the artificial berry. But you can see by adding in the artificial berry in and out through the real fresh flowers, it can make the artificial berry look quite realistic looking. Don't go to town on it, because I want to add in a little bit of a dried flower as well. So this is a dried kind of filler that we buy in from the wholesalers. Now again, when you're doing your courses, your training courses here with us at Case Flower School, part of your training is, first of all, we supply all your flowers and your materials, and we tell you exactly where you will be able to purchase them from yourself. So all our students get a flower delivery direct from Holland. So the second week of your class, it'll be like Sancti, one of the nights, a fresh flower delivery will come direct from Holland and will be delivered to your home no matter where you are in Ireland, or even no matter where you are in the UK. And again, around the world, we would have students around the world. What I'm doing here, by the way, is just adding in this little bit of filler. And again, you can see the way I'm just allowing it to bounce up slightly over the tops of the roses. And I'm going to add a little bit around the edges of the basket or the hat box. And again, just let it kind of like bounce slightly over it. And again, that just kind of gives it that more wild kind of garden look to the arrangement as well. This dried flower has a little bit of a tinge of yellow to it. So again, it looks well with the oranges and the yellows kind of like, you know, harmonise, kind of blend in together. And then your purple is your contrast, and it's picking up the purple of the hat box. So what I just did was I cut a couple of sprigs. I had to go back and cut a little bit more, you know what I mean? But just to give you an idea what we're doing here. So if anybody is watching and you'd like that free sample course, drop me an email, info@caseflowerschool.com. We will get that emailed out to you. It's a link. You can tune into it on your phone, on your laptop. It's really easy. You can rewind it, you can fast forward it, you can shut me up. It's probably the only time your husband will be logging in to see can he shut me up. You can watch it over and over again. And then the idea would be that if you were on one of our real classes, now there'd be totally different classes that we send out to you for the professional courses. But when you're doing our professional course, no matter what materials I'm working with, so if this happened to be one of the displays, it's not by the way, but if it was, you would be sent out the exact same purple hat box, the orange spray roses, the purple clematis, the dried flowers, the foliage and the artificial berry. So the idea is that you have the exact same materials as I have. And I often say to the students, it's a little bit like ready, steady, cook, that you're able to copy the arrangement from the comfort of your own home, but have all the pieces. Do you know yourself, there's nothing as bad as watching a demonstration. And even some of you are home there this evening and you're copying this arrangement, or you're trying to copy the arrangement, but you haven't got the same materials as me. And you're probably saying, well, what could I use instead? And I said, well, you could use baby carnations. And yes, you could. But if you're going to, I'm just adding a few more berries here and there. If you're using baby carnations in this arrangement, it's not going to look as nice as the one I have done using the baby roses, but yet it is a substitution. Or again, instead of using the dry flower, you could use wax flower, or you could use jip. Now it will look nice, but it's going to look completely different. So I always find with our tutorials, we try to do it like ready, steady, cook. You have the exact same items as I have, which makes it much, much easier. And it means then you're able to copy the arrangement exactly like what I'm doing. But then I give you the option, not the option, you have no option with this, I give you the opportunity to send on step-by-step photographs as you make the arrangement, like not when you have it completely finished. So when you would have had the bulb bowl in that hat box, I would have got you to WhatsApp me on a photograph, and every day between 9:30 and 3:30, and in the evening time between 6 o'clock and 8 o'clock, and some weekends between 12 o'clock and 4 o'clock, we are available for giving you feedback on all your designs. So you send on your photograph, and you either get a gold star or a green light, and we send it back to you with any corrections, and then you go to the next stage, and again you send it back and forward. So throughout the day you get up to 5.5, 6 hours mentoring every day, that again we can work it around your lifestyle, but also around your same time zone, because we have people all over the world attending our courses. I'm just going to have a look down on this. This is always a good tip for you. When you make an arrangement, I often say to the students, arse in the air, like, you know, bend over, put your, I'm not putting it on the floor, put put the arrangement down on the floor and look down on it, that you can see exactly, you know what I mean, the design and the layout, and making sure that you have divided up your material as evenly as you possibly can, which I'm very pleased. I think I've done a great job. What do you think?
I think you did a great job.
Thanks
too.
a million. You're my best friend, you are. So again, to make an itemised list of the stem count for that very simple hat box arrangement. Hat box is from Floral Box Packaging, but they only sell them in bulk. Otherwise, go to your local flower shop and you'll be able to buy a hat box from them. The Bull Bowl, again, wholesalers, but you can buy one from your local flower shop. A full block of floral foam and some cellophane or newspaper or brown paper for bridging the gap between Mullingar and Dublin. Then, foliage-wise, I used a little bit of pittosporum out of the garden. I used 5 stems of the orange spray roses, which you can see we get really good value. I used 3 stems of the purple clematis, and I used approximately 1/3 of a bunch of dried flower, which again you could substitute for gyp or wax flower. And a little bit of artificial berry. Just the time of year, I just thought to give it that kind of like autumnal, kind of like winter theme to it, but yet it's not necessarily Christmas and it's not necessarily Halloween. And I know this display could be used throughout the whole year, spring, summer and weddings, just changing the colours around. I hope you enjoyed that class. If anybody has any questions at all, I'd love if you put them in the comments. I'll respond back to you later on. If you have any inquiries about classes held here at the school, drop me an email, info@caseflowerschool.com. And the other thing, you can do me a little favour. Is there any chance of sharing this video? Because at the end of the day, when we do these live classes, hopefully we're giving you some ideas and you're enjoying the classes. But it does help to build up our analytics, the more people that interact with the video. So even if it's a thumbs up, a little bit of a heart, say hi, say, hey Janette, I like it, I don't like it, the purple is horrible or the orange is horrible. Say something, good, bad, positive or negative. Say something, but share the video as well. So by sharing the video, you're opening the audience for ourselves that more people might interact with it. Facebook and Instagram absolutely love that, and again they allow our pages to be seen by more people. So again, thanks a million for joining in. Join us next week again, probably same time, same place, and we'll have another free class.